Hello, I'm Dylan Graham of Graham Wealth Partners, which is part of CG Wealth Management, and welcome to another edition of Deskside with Dell. In this edition, I want to talk a bit about what's going on down south. There's a lot of market turmoil, and I think what's going on is there's a fundamental challenge in the economic order, particularly by populism against liberal capitalism. Let me explain. Liberal capitalism kind of marks the economic development since at least the Second World War, and particularly from 1985 to 2000. It's represented by open borders, which would be free trade between nations of capital, goods, people, resources, and it's made manifest by things like the European Union, NAFTA, the BRIC countries, and that's been a benefit for large companies because free trade has allowed them to access cheap resources, cheap labor, and also allowed them large markets. It hasn't been so great for local companies because now they are in competition with these global companies with large resources. And it hasn't been great for local workers because now they are in competition with the lowest bidder in terms of labor. So there's typically offshoring of labor. And so there's a populist movement has arisen out of this and challenge of liberal economic principles. And they're challenging open borders, typically with tariffs. And the tariffs are meant to protect local businesses and local labor. Now, the question is this a fundamental change in the economic system, or is this a temporary aberration? Well, on the one hand, if this is a paradigm shift in the economy, then we're basically moving back to the mercantile system that you had maybe 200 or 300 years ago, where tariffs were used to reduce the imports of the country, but at the same time, they're looking to maximize the exports in order to build global wealth. This was the time of empires and colonies like the British Empire, but this is also done by France, the Netherlands, and Germany. On the other hand, my view is that this basically is a much more of a temporary event, similar to the COVID-19 crisis. COVID-19 was a biological event that had economic ramifications. And the ramifications were real. They made fundamental changes. So that was the rise of the stay-at-home industries came out of that. So basically the old economic order returned. I think this might be the same case with populism. To the extent that populism depends on popular support, the tariffs will have an effect. And I think this is the same case with populism, because populism depends on popular support. It's a political movement. And to the extent that the political movement has popular support, then it is powerful. But when that support wanes, when it is less powerful. So what's happening already is there's economic ramifications for things like tariffs. And we saw that recently in the US markets, and that's sapping popular support. So even in the midterm elections, perhaps in the States, that support for populist policies might be dissipated. We'll see. Now, some will say that the reason why I think it's a temporary aberration is because of wishful thinking, because the liberal economic order has been very good for large companies, particularly global companies, and for the stock market. Some would say it's because the lack of imagination on my part as well, because I cannot see the fundamental changes in coming. We will see. And obviously, we will keep you updated as to how I'll see things. Hope to talk to you soon. Bye.